Hello, and thank you for joining me for day 10 of the 30-day self-love challenge. Today's challenge is how can you set better boundaries in your life? Now, boundaries are an important part of establishing your identity. They are an important aspect to your mental health and your well-being. Now, boundaries can range anywhere from being physical and emotional, and they can be anywhere from loose to rigid, where you want to have healthy boundaries in the middle. Now, boundaries are really important to your self care. They are an important part to leading a mental healthy life. We want to have a mental healthy life because when our thoughts and our brains are constantly going crazy, 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 and everything else around us is going crazy, 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 that's all a result of what's going on in our mind. So if we can set those boundaries within ourselves, to not allow all of those thoughts to be stirring in our heads and constantly bringing us down, that we can then live in harmony with our natural flow, with ourselves, in relationships. And for me, I mean, you got to ask yourself, what do boundaries look like for you? For me, boundaries look like, for me, that they are something that you are direct about. You establish what those needs are, what your needs are, what your limitations are, what you can handle and what you cannot handle, and really basically drawing a line in the sand. Maybe that's a better way of thinking about it instead of saying boundaries. Like, I just kind of realized that, like, drawing a line in the sand is a boundary for me, and for me is establishing what your needs are, and then checking in with your feelings, tuning into how you feel. If somebody's doing something or you're doing something that makes you feel uncomfortable or stressed, then you need to set a boundary somewhere to not feel that way, because you want to be in harmony. You want to be in your natural flow. You want to be in joy. You want to be in love. And you can't be in those vibrations if your mind is going crazy and you don't set healthy boundaries. Now, one of the times I've had to set boundaries was with my mom at one time. There was a time where her husband and I didn't get along, and every time we were around, some kind of altercation would happen, and it would turn into a really painful situation after that. And that happened over and over and over many times, hoping that, the next time it didn't happen, but it kept happening. And so I wanted the relationship with my mom. That was really my point. I wanted the relationship with my mom, but it seemed like in order to have that, I had to have a relationship with her husband as well. Well, I continue to do that and do that and do that to try to have that relationship, but it just wasn't working. It wasn't working. We were clashing, and it just wasn't a relationship that I needed in my life, and I kept trying to do the relationship for the sake of my mom, but it wasn't working anymore. And so I really wanted to have a relationship with my mom, but I couldn't have that relationship with her husband. So I had to set a boundary with her by saying, I only want you in this relationship. I only want to have a relationship with you. And at first she was a little defensive about it, but I think she's come to realize, like, it's much better this way right now. And then maybe in time, that relationship with her husband could possibly get reestablished. But for now, it's more of like, I just want the relationship with her because she is my mother, so I want that with her. And once I build that relationship with her and feel good and confident about that relationship, then I could maybe start a new one with her husband. So that was one boundary that I had to set, and it was a difficult one. When you start setting boundaries with your family and friends, and you're being assertive with yourself. You're saying, no, I can't take this anymore. No, I'm not going to be a doormat anymore. No, I'm not going to be afraid of what the other person is going to say, if they're going to say no, or if they're going to judge you or criticize you. Like, you can't let the fears and the anger and the pain interfere with that, because that's when you're suffering, they're suffering, and there's no healthy boundaries set. So when you do set healthy boundaries with yourself and with others, you start to become, or you start getting into that harmonious flow of the universe, of your natural energy. When everything's flowing and it's natural, everything's just with ease. It falls into place. But when those boundaries aren't set and you're not saying what your needs are, like, you have to speak up and express what your needs are, how you're feeling, and confronting, or setting those boundaries of what you can't take anymore. So it's taking a stand, basically, and saying no when it's not beneficial to you or healthy for you, and probably even the other person, or whatever the situation may be. So think about what boundaries you could be setting in your life, or how can you set better boundaries? Maybe you are working on those boundaries, but how can you set better ones? I'm actually putting an article in the description of something I came across, that is 10 ways to build and preserve better boundaries, which I think it's a really great read. There's 10 listings in there. They're pretty easy. I mean, one of them is really identifying what your needs are. Next is tuning into your feelings. Another one is really becoming aware of the boundaries that you have for yourself. And then, like, you have to give yourself permission to set those boundaries. Like I said, people will say no, or you'll be afraid of them saying no to a family member or a friend or something like that, especially if they do take advantage. If there's people out there taking advantage of you and you feel that way and you feel like a doormat, that's where a boundary needs to be set. You need to set those boundaries. So identify what your needs are in that situation, and say, and be assertive, like, be strong and confident, like, this is what my needs are, and I expect you to respect that. Like, you got to respect it. So go and read that article. It's definitely a really good read. Some great ways to set better boundaries. And go out and set some boundaries today. Like, go get into your natural harmonious flow. And by doing that, you're setting boundaries with yourself, healthy boundaries, setting boundaries with others, and you're taking a stand for your own life. This is your life. You set the boundaries that you need to keep you flowing in harmony with your true higher self. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.